Hello and welcome to Pluribus Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Now, before we get into the get into anything in the video, I feel it is best to acknowledge one very interesting thing that happened. You see, this Thursday was originally going to be the release of, I was originally going to release a video talking about my top 10 screw-ups for 2020, and it was almost done. But then, very interestingly, all I had to do was upload two or three more pictures to the video. Then I would download it. Then I would upload it. The end. Everything was fixed. That's all I needed to do. But then I went to sleep, being like, I can do this in the morning, it'll be fine. Then it turns out I go into the editing software to open up the file, and it just, I literally don't even know what happened. I click the file, and it says upload, it says you're getting the file. Then it turns out, no, it just won't open. It just, it won't open, and it won't continue. So, after a little bit of a depressive, sadness of me just being like, fuck it, no video for you, I decided, screw it, I'll just delay it to the 31st, because that is also a Thursday, and you see if it gets done then. Hopefully the same thing won't happen again, because I have all the files I need, and it seems like it'll be hunky-dory. Okay, so now that we got all that out of the way, let's get right into the news. First, we're going to talk about something that happened in Chicago. Well, it turns out, here's what happened. 2 years ago, a woman was police wrongly entered her home, guns drawn, and, things were getting bad. And they're like, you have the wrong house. But the reason why I'm covering this is, of course, because it's a bad thing, and it should be known. The woman who was harassed by the police officers was Ann Jeanette Young. But it turns out, Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, was trying to cover this up. Make sure that this wouldn't be released. But to be fair, she's a pig. And of course, there might be some people who say, oh, you're sexist. This has nothing to do with her gender. This is the fact that she's a cop. Okay, so anyways, now moving on to the next story. Apparently, there was a study that has been done. A paper by David Hope of the London School of Economics and Julian Lindbergh of the King's College London examined 18 developed countries from Australia to the United States over a 50-year period from 1965 to 2015. And it pretty much did a study into Reaganomics. You want to know what they found? Tax cuts didn't trickle down. Trickle-down economics failed. Very interesting. I assume the Republican Party is going to take this information and then edit their platform to better adjust this. Of course, everybody knew it didn't work. The fact of the matter is, everybody knew it didn't work. It was literally just there to, tax cuts for the rich. That's all they cared about, so that's all they really did anything for. Okay, so I'll include a link to the study or whatever into the description so that you can better analyze it for yourself, because I don't want to go over all of the thingies, blah blah blah. But anyways, the next story is coming from Joe Biden. This is one decision people have been clamoring for. Biden has picked a cabinet position, picked someone to fill a cabinet position that many people on the left have actually not been particularly mad about. He has tapped Deb Haaland as the first Native American Interior Secretary. Now, a lot of people have been, screaming at this because they're like, oh, this is amazing for a number of reasons. First Native American Interior Secretary. And people have also been clamoring because, Deb Haaland. Okay, well, we'll get to that. Like, Deb Haaland is arguably a pretty progressive individual to be in the seat. Now, first, we should probably explain what the heck does the Secretary of the Interior do. They are the ones who are responsible for the management and conservation of federal land, natural resources, and stuff like that. Which, has people's attention because for multiple reasons. Both ranging from her being Native American and also to another thing. Which also, again, ties into her being Native American. Okay, so since she's Native American, she, of course, would be in charge of, handling the tribal negotiations and such as the Interior Secretary, and it would make sense to have someone who is a Native American in that seat. And she's not I was born half Native American and blah blah blah. No. She has been she's chaired Native American groups. She is enrolled as a member of tribes. She is like you couldn't pull the Liz Warren she be Native American. No. She was like I said, she was a member of a tribe. She, born and raised. There's no way anybody could have pulled that Liz Warren crap thing. But the second reason why is because Deb Haaland, like I said, she's sort of progressive. Now, I keep saying sort of when most people are being a bit more, angry, being more happy about this. She's great. I say sort of progressive because I'm not gonna lie, she does have faults. But here's the thing. In this position that she's going to be put in, her faults will be completely out the door. She's had faults with the NDAAs, she endorsed Warren, which many people have pointed out, you see, with a Warren type, everybody always points out, it seems on specific issues, she seems fine, but then on other issues, she just seems to have this complete mind gap. And Deb Haaland sort of has similar things to that nature. But on issues like the environment and, Native American rights, she does fine. And yeah, I'll admit, in this position, she would be better suited. Mostly because now we can, replace her with someone who is, to her left. Someone who will stand up on these, issues. But, she's even slated that she will be the individual who, keeps Biden's word in regards to, fracking, because Biden says, I'm not going to frack on federal land, and people have been, hesitant to be are you sure you're going to do that? And Deb Haaland's hey, I'm going to make sure of it. And it's okay, fine, this is a fine choice. I can live with this. But in my opinion, it seems like there are some lefty positions in the cabinet that still need to be filled. We still need, a lefty Secretary of Labor and the such. But, we gotta see how the cabinet plays out. Biden's gonna be the new president, so we gotta see how the cabinet plays out. Oh, yeah, by the way, I should mention Pete Buttigieg was gonna appoint him as Secretary of Transportation. Really? You screwed Bernie over, and that's the position you get? Okay. The next story is coming from the good old Congress. You see, there's been very interesting developments in regards to, stimulus. One of the biggest things that has been happening at the particular moment is that, another CARES Act is going to get is they're trying to pass another CARES Act that's going to put a lot of, money in the hands of corporate lobbyists and, corporations and blah, blah, blah. But then, this is like the third or fourth, CARES Act that has been done. And, the first ones, people were like, nobody's going to vote against them because people need help now, and whatever help we can get out, we can get out. But now, since this is the third or fourth one, people are like, okay, no more BS. We're putting our foot down. This is, we want $1,200 stimulus checks for the American people. We want that. The Progressive Caucus has stated that they're going to put their foot down. Bernie Sanders has said that he's going to put his foot down. Even he got some help from the other side of the aisle when Josh Hawley, the guy who's trying to position himself as like the Trump economic populist type guy, he also was like, yes, people need help now. We need help at this moment. But it turns out a GOP senator by the name of Ron Johnson from Wisconsin blocked the approval. He blocked the idea. Like, he blocked it. No $1,200 stimulus checks at the moment because Ron Johnson said no. Many people point out he's pretty rich. He's a senator, of course. Pretty rich man. Turns out he won't be having any troubles at this particular moment. And Bernie himself has specifically made a pledge in regards to, like, we will not be going home this Christmas until we pass a stimulus check bill now. And it will include $1,200 checks. And, since Ron Johnson keeps blocking it, he keeps saying, Aight, bro. I guess we're staying here for Christmas. We all could have went home for Christmas, but nah, you said, nah, we staying here. I'm Jewish, I don't care, but you're the one who chose to stay here. I then, bro. And speaking of that, I think it sort of ties directly into the next story. You see, there's been a bit of a contentious thing going on in the left media circle, I guess you could say. You see, an individual that we've talked about on this show frequently, Jim Bertdor, he got particularly mad at AOC and the squad and is telling them that what they should do is that they should withhold their votes for Speaker from Nancy Pelosi, like her, Pecan, like a couple others. And he's telling them, like, put your foot down, say you will not vote for Nancy Pelosi for Speaker unless you bring a Medicare for All vote to the House floor. AOC responded that she will not be doing that. Not directly to Jimmy, but someone had to, like, at Jimmy and then at AOC. And she responded to them. And then pretty much, there was a whole array of discourse surrounding this controversy. Some people are on more of the AOC side. Some people are saying they're more on Jimmy Dore's side. Even some folks who don't even like Jimmy are saying that they're more on his side on this particular issue. There's been yelling, there's been arguing. People are saying, like, oh, you're not an ally, you're part of Pelosi's side. You're just like Richard Okoye from the Black Panther Party. Those are things that were directed at me. But anyways, here's what, for the most part, people are saying. This seems to be a huge divide. And the one part is, there's a whole lot of stuff to tackle. It's a little hard to tackle every single aspect of it at once. And I can't tackle all of it at once. But you will tackle certain bits of it. Like, for example, there's some people who keep trying to bring Jimmy into the argument on both sides. The people who hate Jimmy and are, shitting on him every single day, they are always bringing Jimmy into the argument and pretty much saying like, hey, Jimmy is a bad individual, ergo he stinks, and we shouldn't listen to his stupid bullshit idea. And the people who like Jimmy are trying to use it as like, oh, they keep bringing Jimmy in because they think he's like a super harbinger of like greatness. And this is a brilliant idea from a brilliant man. Then you have a subsection of people who keep saying, why do you keep bringing Jimmy into this? But they're particularly targeting the people who are against the idea. Like, why do you keep bringing Jimmy into this? Why do you keep bringing Jimmy into this? You're trying to focus on, like, Jimmy himself and not on the actual idea. Then there's some people who say, like, oh, you're an AOC stan. Oh, you're a Jimmy stan. Blah, blah, blah. But again, like, they aren't acknowledging the idea itself. And it's gotten to the point where, literally, if you do talk about the idea itself, they will just flat out just throw you into a crowd that you're not a part of. Like, for example, I have critiqued the idea, but just because I don't like Jimmy Dore, I get thrown into the category of like, oh, you're just hating on the idea because Jimmy is talking about this, when pretty much none of the tweets that I have talked about the idea about directly involve Jimmy. It's about the idea. I don't think the idea is beneficial, and it's because of one thing. There seems to be a divide on what the idea is supposed to accomplish. On one end, people say, they try to put a scenario where the idea potentially works and we do get Medicare for all. That's not going to happen. This is the biggest reason why I'm not for the idea. There is no scenario in this idea where we get Medicare for all from this vote. Like, let's say, like, it's not going to happen. And people who are on Jimmy's side have explained this. They, majority of them have flat out stated that this isn't a matter of getting the bill passed, because they admit it will not. This is a matter of weeding out the frauds, the people who are the people who are co-sponsoring the bill now, but then will vote against it. Because one thing AOC touts is we have 118 co-sponsors of the Medicare for All bill, and even Klinsky has stated, he stated point blank, the co-sponsor list means jack, because a majority of them are just going to jump ship. They're only co-sponsoring it just to get street cred. He brings up, Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris as examples of this. And, it's basically saying, the co-sponsor list is meaningless. At the end of the day, people will jump ship. Which, again, makes me question the validity of the idea of, bringing it to vote. Again, yes, you want to expose the frauds. But to be fair, half of them, you can just kind of tell. Just look at them. If they are taking a bunch of money from corporate lobbyists, specifically from the pharmaceutical industry, or they've been in Congress for 50 years, and then just now supporting Medicare for All, and have made no indication prior to or after that they are supporting Medicare for All, and they aren't even doing anything that specifically shows they're for Medicare for All. I'll give an example Earl Blumenauer. Earl Blumenauer, he was never a strong supporter of, Medicare for All, but then in 2017, after Bernie made it popular, he supports Medicare for All, but he seems a bit more honest than other ones. The idea is that after the Medicare for All vote fails, progressives then can use that as a rallying cry, and then in turn sweep in the midterms. My point is, well, what's to stop you from doing the same, but without needing to waste a vote? My point is, the vote ultimately is meaningless. I don't care about any vote for Medicare for All unless it ends with Medicare for All passing. So, how about we already know the issue. The issue is 2/3 of Congress, and maybe even more so, Like, I mean, I don't trust a single member of Congress that is not on my website. If they're not on my website, I don't trust them to vote for Medicare for all. Or if I do, or even, like say, hypothetically, okay, maybe someone like, I don't know, who's an 8-time co-sponsor that was, it's pretty shit, Gerald Nadler or something. Maybe he would vote for it, but I don't think anyone else would. Like, the vote would again ultimately be meaningless, and to a degree, it could be counterintuitive. Because if a Medicare for all vote fails, it could 100% be flipped on its head and turned into a, see, Medicare for all is really some lame far left idea brought on by like the AOCs and the such and blah blah blah. It could 100% be spun that way, and that would of course 100% be counterintuitive to a degree, you know, with the massive media heads always, you know, flipping every. And that, don't say that it won't happen. I've heard other people tell me like that wouldn't happen. You're just speculating. It could 100% happen. It's a possibility. You're pointing out a possibility where this somehow, like, weaves into a massive movement for Medicare for all, when, again, it's 100% possible that it could lead to a mass movement of Medicare for all supporters. It could also lead to a mass, you know, disapproval of Medicare for all supporters, who might be like, you know what? Yeah, it did lose with bipartisan disapproval, so maybe it is a far-off idea. Maybe I should go back to thinking about a public option. There are a lot of people who support the idea of Medicare for all who are a lot more apolitical than you and I. They don't understand the intricacies. They don't understand, you know, a lot of the intricacies. Bernie simplifies it. That's why he was able to get Medicare for all to a huge array of people. Like, people were able to know what Medicare for all is thanks to Bernie, because he was able to explain it in a way that made sense. Every other nation has it. It makes sure that everybody can go to a doctor, and it costs a little bit less than what we have now. It costs a lot more less for you individually, but the overall cost, it will be lower. That raises its popularity. But the apolitical types might not find it more favorably once they see a big failing vote. That is 100% a possibility, and you can't pretend that it's not. The biggest drab is, like, they say that this will somehow get us there faster than if we don't do it. But I have yet to see the actual proof. Like, the individuals, they say, like, this will somehow get us to Medicare for all faster, which, no, I don't see it. It will fail. How does that get us closer? Well, we'll weed out the not good people and we'll initiate primaries against them. We're going to run primaries against them already. Like, I mean, we didn't ask Gerald Nadler if he supported Medicare for all before we primaried him. We just primaried him. We didn't need to see if he would vote yes, no on Medicare for all. We just primaried him anyways. Tim Ryan co-sponsored the Medicare for all bill back in the day. He's part of the Medicare for all caucus. We didn't, but we know he's bullshitting. We know he's lying. We didn't need to wait for a Medicare for all vote before we decided if he was a fraud or not. We could tell. We knew it. I'm not claiming that my idea will somehow get us to Medicare for all faster. But the point is, I'm not seeing how this vote will get us there any faster than if we just do something else. Like, just go on the streets advocating. You know, people have been suggesting, you know, direct action. Do that. Occupy Wall Street. Or, not Occupy Wall Street, but, like, Occupy DC. Why not? That would probably make a lot more sense than, you know, this vote that would ultimately end up not doing much. And especially considering there's a lot of, like, direction. Like, a lot of people are, like, going against, you know, like, they hate, like, there's a lot of folks that are using this as, like, proof that AOC and Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman and Mondaire Jones and Ayanna Pressley and Chewy Garcia and all these people, they're using this as proof that they're frauds that they won't do this thing on a thing that won't do anything. It won't accomplish what you think it will accomplish. Like, it would be better suited if we, like, waited until we actually knew we had the amount of people who could pass a Medicare for All vote. At least make it so that, like, 2/3 of the co-sponsors on that bill, at the very least, are, like, legitimately on board with Medicare for All. And then that remaining 1/3, get them on board. Make sure they know, hey, you know, this election cycle, you ain't gonna be handling no more, I kind of support Medicare for All, but I kind of support public option. No more of that. This time, you on board or you're not? And if you're not, well, bye-bye. I see what the rational people on the other side are saying, but the point is, I'm not seeing the end goal. I'm not seeing what it would accomplish at the end of the day, aside from, like, a symbolic vote that could easily be spun in a way that could harm the movement more than make the movement better. And one more thing is that this all came about with them saying, like, you know, withhold your vote for Pelosi. Again, that one might not work because, I mean, as many people point out, many people like the Democrats like being in the opposition. Pelosi would 100% like to have the ability to not have the pressure on her to, like, do all of these big things, especially considering she can 100% turn it around. Again, don't pretend that it can't happen. You know, it can 100% happen. She can spin it as those unfaithful Democratic Socialists ruining the caucus, and then she can fund a bunch of primary challenges. Ultimately, this whole argument, I'm seeing a lot more of the flaws than I'm seeing the gains. Now, with all that out of the way, it's time that we talk about the main topic of this video, which, honestly, I don't know if I have too much to say on this particular topic, but I might. Okay, so if you only listen to my podcast, then you're probably missing out, because the main focus of my YouTube channel is, of course, minor parties. The idea, of course, being, like, you know, individuals who don't necessarily get to have the media talking about them pretty much every single day. You know, I would be the voice that would talk about them. Like, you don't see the Reform Party talking about on, like, the mainstream news, but I frequently talk about the Reform Party to a degree. You know, talked about them on one video, and then, like, when they merged with the Alliance Party, I talked about that. Of course, you know, to do, you know, more new newsworthy third parties come to mind, you know, like the Libertarians, the Green Party. But basically, you know, I talk about these smaller parties, minor parties, and one thing people have been pointing at is, you know, we probably generally want to know what's going on in the third party field, that things are doing, like, what's going on. And, well, I'll be honest, some decently good things and some not so decently good things. I think the biggest thing to point out is just the biggest one, what's going on now. And I'll be honest, just numbers wise, things aren't necessarily looking so hot for third parties or minor parties. Let's just analyze this. This particular number should be interesting. In the 2016 election, here is the percentage of people who voted for a independent or minor party candidate. 6.01%. Alright. That seems cool. How many people voted for a minor party candidate in 2020? 1.83%. Now you may notice, that's a decent drop. It's a noticeable drop, and it's not lost on pretty much anybody who knows anything about minor parties. And the fact of the matter is, if you subtracted the Libertarian Party's numbers, that 1% would be completely gone. As you can tell, again, not looking so hot. Another thing that's not looking so hot is the Independent Political Report. That site hasn't been doing so hot either. That's been the primary source of third-party news and such. Well, aside from my channel, but that website has been not doing so hot. The person who's been in charge of it has kinda not paid that much attention to the site, and the individual who was pretty much tasked with just paying the bills of the site doesn't care about the site anymore and wants to quit. Things aren't looking so bueno. Now, there are reasons for it. Happening. The reasons being, 2020 just wasn't the year for third parties. There's a reason for that. That this happens very frequently in U.S. history. When a third party does amazingly well, the following election, third party support kind of wanes a bit because some people either directly or indirectly blame a third party for a candidate's loss. For example, in the 1912 election, as we all know, the Progressive Party did, they got second place, and Eugene Debs with the Socialist Party got 5.99% of the vote. Okay. Now, the following election, the Socialist Party got 3.19% of the vote, and the Provisional Party got 1.19% of the vote. The Progressive Party was pretty much completely eliminated altogether. A more recent example would be the controversy surrounding the 2000-2004 election. In 2000, of course, we had Ralph Nader run his infamous presidential campaign, which was blamed for costing Al Gore the election wrongfully, but, it was still blamed. So the following election, individuals who were, like I would say Nader leaning or such, like, for example, Susan Sarandon, Bill Maher, Michael Moore, individuals like that, they did not support Ralph Nader because the whole issue was getting Bush out of the White House and getting someone competent in, which to them was John Kerry. Even individuals who were considered like third-party activists, like Jesse Ventura, even he was like, look, buddy, I really don't care about the third-party controversies and blah, blah, blah. I just want Bush out of the White House, bro. Like, even he bit the bullet on that. 2016 was seen as sort of like the year of the third party, with the two most unpopular presidential candidates in U.S. history. Like, it was literally like, there was no way a third party could fail in that election. They did. And third parties were like, okay, next time around, things will be better. Because we guarantee the same thing is going to happen. It did. But again, it was just not their year. They chose that it was not going to be in that year. They weren't gonna focus on, getting political movements and such. The momentum was all about getting Trump out of the White House. They didn't care about like minor individuals. Like, yeah, buddy, who cares? Howie, alright, whatever. Joe Jorgensen, we don't care. Kanye West, lame, whatever. The whole point of this election is just to get Trump out. And that's what happened. So yeah, if you're in the third party sphere, you might be thinking a bit bleak. You're not doing so hot in the third party sphere. Third parties aren't exactly ranking it in at this point. And a lot of the momentum that could be used to form new political parties are instead, or funneling movements into currently existing ones, are being used to push more mainstream, political individuals. Like, for example, the Bernie movement could have 100% been used to, bring the Green Party up into a new level, but he instead chose to, go through DSA and, elect individuals through the Democratic Party. and the Trump paleoconservative thing could have been used to push the Constitution Party, as many people who, like, as the one member of the Constitution Party in my Discord clearly states. But a lot of these younger paleocons are really into Trump, ergo, they're not really caring about Howard Phillips and the like. I mean, the Constitution Party especially seems to be facing a problem that has been facing a lot of third parties. Their membership is just getting old. Like, a lot of the people who are members of certain political parties, at this point they're getting old and they don't have a young base to pass on their ideology to, because the youngins are into different things. Like, I mean, if your parents are a member of the Green Party, it's fair to say you might be a Green Party member as well, but there's also a likelihood that you are a DSA member or like a Bernie-crat. If your parents were a member of the Constitution Party, you know, a decent chance you're a Trumper now. Other political parties in the past have suffered things like this. The Socialist Labor Party being the example that comes to my mind. Their membership was, you know, very old and white. They weren't able to properly adapt, and as such, their membership just quickly died off. And that's the same thing that's happening to certain political parties at the moment. Not all of them. Some of them are able to adapt. You know, Libertarian Party, for better and for worse, because I'm not particularly a fan of the right libertarian ideology, they have been able to adapt pretty fine in regards to the modern day sphere, particularly because you always have those kids in college that always go through that libertarian phase, then they jump into the Libertarian Party and go, oh yeah, I'm all in on that, and then they realize, oh no, what did I get myself into? It's probably the only, you know, third party that, like, the Libertarian Party, it's even to the point where it's grandfathered in at this point. They're pretty much what the Socialist Party used to be, in a way. They're grandfathered in at this point. Everybody who is at least somewhat political knows about the Libertarian Party. When I say somewhat political, I literally just mean people who know what Democrats, Republicans, and third parties are. Because there's always been like a Robot Chicken sketch, or always been a joke where people always talk about the Libertarian Party. Like The Simpsons makes fun of the Libertarian Party all the time. The Libertarian Party, they become a political lexicon part. Like, they've been a part of our political lexicon for a while now, so it makes sense that they've stuck around a little bit longer. It also doesn't help that they have like a lot of rich donors. The Green Party also sort of has this staying power, even though they faced a voter drop. They seem to still be, like, I mean, the Libertarian Party, they always face voter drops, but they seem to be doing well. I think maybe one way these two parties could have kept their higher voting bases is maybe if they ran, you know, Johnson and Stein again. People know who Johnson is. People know who Stein is. People don't necessarily know or care about Joe Jorgensen or Howie Hawkins. I guarantee you a lot more people in the Green Party knew who Howie Hawkins was than people in the Libertarian Party knew who George Jorgensen was. But the end of the day is, the Libertarian Party, they didn't care who their nominee was. They were going to vote for the Libertarian Party regardless. It doesn't really matter. So again, it does seem bleak for the third party sphere, but not necessarily hopeless. Some third parties have done well. You know, they've done well. The Vermont Progressive Party, they're still trucking along, and they're still doing fine. Libertarians and Greens, they're still doing alright. The Alliance Party is sort of picking up some momentum. I don't necessarily agree with the Alliance Party. It's pretty much a Reform Party 2.0, but they seem to be doing alright. It seems that another political party, the American Solidarity Party, has also been doing better than expected. You know, it seems that they are pulling off some, like, more notable things. I haven't really looked into it, but I've seen, like, they haven't been doing too bad, per se. They've been pulling off a lot more surprising, like, oh, they're doing well. I guess it's because they do offer something a little bit different. You know, they're on the left on economics, and they're on the right on social issues, which many people have been saying is, like, the key in regards to building a right-left political alliance. The individual that Josh Hawley is supposedly supposed to be And I've, of course, been saving the People's Party as a potential, game changer. Like, they are getting off the ground, and with this particular burning movement and this particular left-wing sphere, because the left wing of, the American politics at this point is a whole lot more independent-minded than people give it credit for. Like, a lot of people do like to pretend, we're a bunch of Democrat sheepdoggers, blah, blah, blah. We're a whole lot more independent-minded than you think. A lot of people on the independent media sphere, they literally openly talk about, we work with PSL. You would never hear that back in the day. You would never hear a left-wing individual say, oh yeah, I openly work with this communist group. What of it? We're a whole lot more independent-minded than you think. We're willing to endorse the Greens. We're willing to endorse the People's Party. We're willing to support the independent candidates. It could, it will, the left, the third party sphere, it ain't going away no time soon. It may be in a bit of a remission, I'll admit, but it's not going away, especially considering there seems to be bigger things on the horizon. And, of course, you might say, well, what does that mean for your videos? If things aren't looking so hot, what about your videos? Don't worry, buddy. I mean, have you seen the histories? Look, there's been subjects that I've made that I could literally just go back and do it again and, revisit. The Reform Party, there's some information I got wrong on there. I might go back and do it again. Green Party, same. And at the end of the day, I will never run out of, third-party figures, minor parties. I'm not gonna run out of that stuff. There's way too much of it to run out. I got plenty to work with, and more history's on the way. That's all I gotta say for this moment, so let's see what goes on next for the third-party sphere. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report.